My question is this. How does a kid nicknamed Fats end up here?
There's a lot that goes into that, isn't it, Austin? Can we chunk down into more specific questions?
Yeah, get there.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess what I want to know is what was the biggest thing that got you from that person to who you are now?
Deep misery and pain, man. Deep misery and pain and wanting to hurt less.
Yeah.
Because, it started with the drugs, right, when I was young. And yeah, so I went from a place of really hurting and searching, and I started with drugs and self-medicating. And for years and years I did, and it almost killed me, right? But what really ended up happening, and it's kind of like one of those things where the poison ended up being the cure. It was 2009, I was at Shambhala Music Festival, and I had done so much ketamine, cocaine, and ecstasy the night before at a place called Camp Mangled, where everybody just dumped all these white powders into a pile and snorted from the pile, that I passed out outside my tent in the mountains in BC instead of inside my tent. And when I woke up, there's this huge red swelling spider bite on my leg. And like a reasonable young man who was totally ignorant of his own death as a possibility, instead of getting medical attention, I decided to drop a lot of acid first. So I took a lot of LSD, and my legs started swelling up. And I wish I could say that I went to the doctor, but instead I took 6 hours to figure out what I was going to eat in the food court. I got an oyster burger.
It took you six hours to pick an oyster burger?
Yeah, because I would walk and read the menus. Sorry, I'm just remembering. I would walk and read the menus. But anyways, by that time my leg was like, I was starting to get blood poisoning. Like it was like going up my leg. Like these black veins. I was like, oh, I was tripping out. I really hungover too. And so I went to the doctor, and this doctor's a surgeon, and he's just so mad that these hippies are here destroying themselves.
He's on site?
He's on site. He's a surgeon who's there. He's like, because somebody's got to, because people will die if I don't. And so he volunteers. And he's like mad, and he's got a lab coat on, right? And, which is scary. And,
yeah, my least favorite emotion for somebody in a lab coat is angry.
Yeah.
If I'm on the other end of the
It's
conversation.
a lot of conditioning, cultural, like movies. Anyways, the guy in the lab coat, I talked to him, I'm like, oh, it's selling my leg, man. It's kind of red. And he's like, well, you're going to need to go into Nelson and get some antibiotics. I was like, oh, can I just like stay the rest of the festival, man? That's pretty cool. And he said, no. That there is a staph infection. When you see those black lines, that's blood poisoning. If that blood poisoning gets to your heart, you're going to die. So I'm peeking on LSD, and there's a man in a lab coat who's a surgeon who's told me that I'm going to die. And let's call it a moment of clarity. I realized up until that point I had been ignorant of my mortality. I had been ignorant of the fact that this thing decays and that we're all going to die. I knew it conceptually, but I never understood it as a lived reality. Like, oh fuck, this could happen today. This could happen right the fuck now.
And you're high as you're realizing this.
On LSD, a lot of LSD. And this incredible amount of anxiety and pain from this leg and understanding this is mortal and this thing's going to expire just hit me, and I fucking panicked. So, the rest of the soul, my friend 2 Liter, drove me to...
Shout out 2 Liter.
Shout out 2 Liter, drove me to Nelson Hospital. Sat for 8 hours with me while I was tripping on acid in the hospital. And they gave me antibiotics. And I took the antibiotics, and the swelling went down, but the panic never went away. And I went back, and they had to give me IV antibiotics because I wasn't taking, because I kept partying. And for like the next 3 days, I had a vendetta against myself. I'm really, really self-destructive. And I went to the hospital again, And they gave me IV antibiotics for 8 days. It was like such a serious infection. Not until this year did I kind of understand, like, whoa, that actually could have killed me, like, pretty damn close to. But the feeling of anxiety didn't get away. So I'd wake up in the morning, I'd be like, I got fucking skin cancer. You know, every time I get a feeling in my heart, I'd be like, I got a fucking heart attack.
We're talking after you were out of the hospital.
We're talking 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 12 months.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm living in this constant state of anxiety. I can't really pay attention to school. And I'm just fucking like, it's pain. Right? My daily thing is pain. It's like, I'm gonna fucking die right now. And so I got desperate, and I remember going to my friend Evan's house, and he was watching a hypnosis thing. And there's a guy called Richard Bandler, and he was talking about ways of approaching the mind, and the way that that guy was talking gave me a little bit of flexibility of thinking, that had a little bit of space, just a little bit, to step back and take a look at what was going on, a little bit less personalized. So I got fanatical about it, and I started listening to hypnosis tapes like 12 to 14 hours a day while I was working. This is like, we were working together at Regina Housing yet, but it was at Regina Housing, so I was like a caretaker, and I'd be listening to these hypnosis tapes, I'd be like zoned out, and I got really deep into it, almost like manically deep, like obsessively deep. I got really weird, like unsocially weird, right? Like, I was always talking in like hypnotic patterns, and it was fucking, it came across fucking strange. It was very unsettling. But I decided I wanted to go to school to be a counselor, to be a hypnotherapist. Having never gone really any counseling myself, other than like a couple times with dog therapy. So I went up to the coast, and I got a certification there. And I came back to Saskatoon, or I came back to Regina, and there's a lot of stories. I went to, fuck man. So I went to a hypnosis conference, and the ex-vice president of Goldman Sachs was there at the time. And we both hated God. So we both hated organized religion at that point in time so much. We bonded over our mutual distaste of any Abrahamic religions.
You and the ex-vice president of Goldman Sachs.
Yeah, he was a fucking psychopath.
The massive bank.
Yeah, like, okay, this guy was crazy because he went from Goldman Sachs, and right before the economic bubble burst in 2008, he quit Goldman Sachs and joined the Carlyle Group, which was distress investing. And then bought out all the places that they bankrupt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a real evil man.
Like knew the crash was coming and used it for his advantage.
So anyways, I was smoking dope with this guy in a hotel room. And as one does, exactly. You know, and talking about how much we hated Jesus. And and he, I think he was doing some, because he wanted to become a therapist. He wasn't satisfied. He got everything. It was an interesting thing, right? He accomplished everything materially that he could possibly do, and he still wasn't satisfied in life. So he went to like the self-help hypnosis world, and he wanted to be a therapist as well. So, anyways, he was convinced that I stole his ring, and he
Interrogated?
That was one way of saying it. But like, this is a person with unlimited, like literally unlimited resources and power, who's been studying hypnosis for the last like 5-6 years, and is already extremely potent and manipulative. And he took me to the psychological breaking point, and I had a manic episode that lasted for 6 months where I drank every day and didn't sleep. But I did.
Fucking banks, man.
And that was the start of how I went into therapy. And then I moved.
At the end, that was at the end of the 6 months of this depressive episode, or this manic episode.
The manic episode, yeah. And I mean, like, there's a lot of context, but
yeah,
you know, there's a lot more fun stories. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. That's good. Okay.
So
where did I think this might be a good place. Where did floating enter your life?
Sure. Well, a little bit down the road. So another funny story. I was sleeping on a couch so after this manic episode, I decided just to not do anything, and not like halfway not do anything, like go on a couch.
You committed.
And not do anything, and I did that for like 4 to 5 to 6 months. I just slept. I just tried to sleep and not do anything other than sleep. And I was pretty successful at it. And by the end of it, I think I really got it out of my system. I actually think it might have been one of the most beneficial things that I did in my life. It was depression, but you learn something about yourself when you're not striving. You know? It came from a fucked up place, but a very, very valuable demonstration to me. Because I learned really what I was without anything else. You know? If you don't do this, if you do this, there's still something essential there that lasts. And it took a good 6 months to get in touch with that. And near the end, I was on Facebook, and some schizophrenic dude who was convinced he was the head of a magical order and wanted to write a book with a hypnotherapist mentioned to me that he wanted to start a sensory deprivation tank center in Saskatoon. And I think I just straight up stole his idea.
Nice. Nice. Have you confessed to this publicly?
Yeah. I mean, this guy's not. He couldn't have done it.
I wanted to bring him the exclusive.
No, he couldn't have done it because he's got a criminal record and he's crazy. Like, he's a really crazy person.
Schizophrenic.
Yeah, well, not like, don't diss the schizophrenic people, but Austin.
You fucking said it, man. What the?
Well, no, I said that's right for throwing you into the bus. I had one of those too. But no, I mean, he stalked people. That was the thing that made him unpalatable.
Yeah.
Right.
Not a good entrepreneur.
He wasn't a good entrepreneur. Yeah. Like people
Bad
can't find out.
Yeah.
And anyways, so I was talking to this guy actually on the phone, and I told him about this idea, and he's like, "Well, you should move to Saskatoon and start a sensory deprivation tank center." And I was like, oh, "Okay." So I did, and that's what happened.